All right, guys. So we have an interesting movie here. Angus, you got in with us a little bit late, but Letty and I were
Mhm.
both saying that this discussion may sway our opinion by the end of it on how we ultimately feel about the movie. Because, at least for me, I found a lot of good and some bad in there. Overall, I did enjoy the experience, so it's just a matter of how good I think it is. I don't think it's a bad movie at all.
Right. I think I would agree with that sentiment. I think I also saw good and bad. So, and I was thinking, yes, I may be swayed by what you guys say. So
Okay,
it's
so
interesting.
yeah, I'm kind of intrigued on the bad that each of us found because it may be different, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this whole journey turns out. But we are, of
Mhm.
course, talking about Obsession 2026, another big YouTube movie that has made a lot of the rounds. We did Backrooms already, so I also want to compare the two at some point because I think the comparisons with the two are interesting. Before I saw this, I thought they would be a lot more similar in my mind, but I think they're a lot different, and I think the strengths of these movies are kind of different, which is interesting as well. But as I did mention, this is a YouTube former YouTuber making this movie, and it's kind of the things are kind of changing in a way. Those superhero movies aren't hitting as hard. I say that obviously a week after Spider-Man breaks all of these records, but Supergirl is a contrast to that because that's officially left theaters. And I think it made like 120 something million dollars, and it costs like over 200,
Mhm.
million plus whatever advertising. So that movie lost a lot of money, a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how the Avengers movie turns out towards the end of the year, and how this superhero stuff keeps going. But something that's always been a constant in cinema has been horror movies, and low budget horror movies have always been around. It's just a
Mhm.
matter of like how the landscape is changing and how these filmmakers and films are being presented to us. Um, but how do you guys think? Is this the future of independent horror? What we're seeing right now? What do you think, Letty?
What do I think?
Yeah, is this current landscape of horror movies? Is this the future with Backrooms and with Obsession? And now we're getting these, you can call them influencers or YouTubers
Yeah,
having the
I
opportunity.
I think it is. It's one thing for just one to take off, like Backrooms, and then we've got another one. So I think it's going to be, if we have more things coming out from YouTubers, people are going to give it more credibility. They're going to give it more of a shot than maybe in the past. So I think it might be a new trend, new type of horror movies. It's not necessarily like B budget as much as it is YouTube budget.
Mhm. What do you think, Angus? Because a lot of people have been getting deals off of these two movies. I think there was like some elevator short where it's like literally like a 1 or 2 minute short film, and it's gotten a budget. Nothing basically happens. Two people on an elevator, they come off, it's all dark, and then boom, they have like a huge budget because of this. And I think some guy has done some AI artwork, not even a short film, just AI artwork, and that's being turned into a film. And another guy, he made something like this giant structure with like the eyes are like headlights or something, and that's being turned into a film because he just takes pictures of this construction he made in different areas, and they're turning that into a film. It's like anything that's trending online, even if it's not even a short film, like anything horror related, they're getting budgets and green lights. It doesn't mean that they'll ultimately get past pre-production, but these creators are getting an opportunity. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think it is the future. And I think back in my day when I was young, we didn't have things like YouTube. And if you were a
Or
filmmaker,
TV or film.
oh, we had TV.
Color TV.
That goes back much further than you would think. But no, if you wanted to make films, what you would do is make a short film, and you'd have to shoot it on film, which would cost a lot of money. And then there would be no market for that. It would just be a calling card. So you would invest maybe thousands of dollars making a short, and then you would never make that money back. And you would just use it to show to people and say, look, I can do this. And so it was really hard. It was tough for people to break through, especially if they had no money. But now YouTube is the place, where people can just do stuff and they can learn the craft, they can learn lighting, they can learn sound, and then at some point they can start making shorts on YouTube, and it doesn't necessarily cost them anything. But if they are successful, they can even make money on YouTube, and they can use that money to help make films. So I think it is the future in terms of the path to success. And I think, people are lucky to have this opportunity. But then again, it's a much more crowded field because there's so many more people who have this opportunity who can just go on YouTube. I mean, look at us. We just go on YouTube, so anybody can do it. So yeah, I think it probably is the future. We're going to see more people doing this, and why not? I think it's as good a path as any. So yeah, I think it's the future.
Yeah, especially with like a lot of people in debt from going to school. I think you're going to have less film school students and more people just going straight to YouTube and creating content there, future filmmakers. And it shows that you don't need like a lot of heavy investors or studio support or film festivals or things like that. But ironically, this did win the Toronto International Film Festival, I believe. So there is some
Yes.
of that there. And even though this did cost under $1 million, it did have some investors. But those things aren't as important as the following that Barker had from his YouTube channel. I think that superseded all of that stuff. But
Hmm.
um, what do you think of this idea, Letty, of filmmakers or upcoming filmmakers now being the star of a film? I mean, I think we have that to a certain degree. I think when people go see, obviously, we recently saw The Odyssey, people are going to see it because of who made the movie. And I think there are some filmmakers like that now, like Quentin Tarantino. When he makes a movie, you're going to see it for him, not who is a star in the movie. But now that these influencers are building up an audience prior to putting out a movie, like obviously Backrooms was established, and Barker obviously he had his audience. Do you think it's going to be more of like build up an audience, become a name yourself, and then people are going to go because of the filmmaker, or do you think it's still going to be about the actors in front of the screen?
I think for movies like this, especially if they're, starting out or this is their like big break movie, that's what they're going to need to make it a big break movie. Like they don't have the money yet to, hire big name actors to make that the reason people come. So, and I think that is a smart way to a workaround versus like going to school and networking and putting out, your first couple movies and they don't do so well, and just, keep doing it until you do build up a following that way, and then you get like enough investors to invest in helping you make a good movie. This is like, the lower budget way to do it. And yeah, it's just a different way to basically do the same thing.
Angus, what do you think about Obsession that makes it gives it its mark beyond just the horror premise? I mean, obviously, I'm turning to you for this because we both have seen derivatives before, and this is kind of a derivative movie. And where I'd say was is the weakest point. It's not showing us anything we haven't seen before, but I think what works for me with this movie, despite the fact that it's nothing new, is that I feel it does connect more with the younger audience than I think 80s and 90s movies that we saw when we were young, teens or preteens, watching horror movies. In that I felt like those Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Streets or Scream movies, they felt like they were movies made by adults thinking, oh, this is what the kids are into. This really felt super contemporary, like a young person made this movie, and it wasn't made by a studio or someone like 10, 15, 20 plus years older than would have the perspective of the characters. And I think, especially this post COVID generation dealing with loneliness and things like that, I think that helps it I think stand out a little bit more than the basic horror premises that like I said, for us at least, and I'm sure Letty will chime in and if she feels she's seen storylines or plots like this before. What do you think, I guess?
Yeah, well, I think it must connect with the younger audience. I think there must be something in here that really speaks to them, and it's hard for me to kind of pick that out. But I would speculate just on things I've heard that. It has to do with the relationship stuff, and maybe the younger generation wanting to have things a certain way, wanting things to all be without any kind of real conflict. They want things to be, um, I don't know what the word is even, but they a lot of younger audiences don't like characters in movies making the wrong choices, and they want everybody to do the right thing all the time. So I think maybe this movie speaks to them on, it's kind of a horrific story about what happens when you make a wrong decision, or when you want things to happen too easily, like just making a wish for it and it happens. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm putting it in the right words, but I think there's
And you're a
something there.
writer too. That's what makes it more vexing.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
Hearing
I
a
think,
writer babble on without finding the right words is very vexing. But
yeah,
continue.
It happens.
yeah. Well, I don't want
Especially when you
to.
just woke up.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't want to, jump ahead to the review section, but I think that, for me, part of it is that it maybe didn't work as well for me as it may have for others, and I think
Mhm.
particularly the younger audience. So it's harder for me to kind of zero in on that. But I know I've talked about this before, that I have a little bit of a test that I put movies to. And, you've all heard of the Bechdel test, which was created by a woman, which was to test films to see if they're, good portrayals of women. You need at least
Yes.
a scene where two women talk about something, and it can't be a man, that kind of thing. And so I have my own little test. I guess we could call it the comb test. And particularly for horror, where I say to myself, okay, if you took the horror out of this, would it still be an interesting story? Is there still enough here that it would work? And I'm not sure that this film really passes the test. I think it really needs that horror to sort of take us all the way to the end. I don't know that there's enough of a story here, but again, I don't want to get too far into that. But I think for me, it's harder to see what makes it work beyond that horror premise, because I'm not sure it did for me beyond the horror premise. But those are my jumbled thoughts for the moment.
Okay, before I turn it over to Letty, do you agree or disagree with the thought that a lot of the slasher movies and horror movies that we watched that had teens or early 20s actors in it didn't really feel a connection to that generation?
Well, I'm not sure, because again, like a lot of those films, I wasn't really of that age, so I was younger, when films like Halloween and Friday the 13th came out. So I don't know if it would have connected with me. I don't know if it connected with the older people
Mhm.
in that way. But I think, to turn this a little bit, probably some of those movies would not pass my test either. The Friday the 13th movies often don't have enough going on in them other than people getting killed. So it's not that it's a deal breaker to not pass my test, but I think a movie becomes something really great when it does pass the test.
Letty?
Um, there was a lot said by Angus. Can you restate what
Sure.
exactly your question
He
was?
did babble on there a bit.
You did just a little bit.
Okay, what makes Obsession work beyond the horror premise? Like I said, especially coming off of this post-COVID era where you have a lot of people who, because of that era, they socializing has really been minimalized over the last
Yeah.
several years, and there is a connection with the loneliness, and it does seem like one of the strengths of this movie is his ability to connect with people, especially younger people, in a way that maybe some other horror films don't. They feel like they're made by older people thinking, oh, this is
Hmm.
what the young kids are into. This actually feels like someone is connected with the audience he's making the film for.
Yeah. So I think I definitely connected very well with this movie. It felt very familiar, and I can't really place like a specific, like, I mean, you guys have done this before where you can say this looks exactly like this horror movie, and I can't really place that exactly, as much as I picked up on like a lot of similar concepts and themes that I've seen in other horror movies, but also in real life. Like the whole, obsession versus love thing, and like people who are super clingy. I definitely felt like I was gonna watch this with somebody that I'm seeing, and I ended up watching it by myself, and I'm like, I'm glad we didn't watch this together, because this is giving me relationship anxiety right now. Like watching this movie, and I feel like it did like really cater to like the Gen Z audience and even the millennial audience. And also considering COVID, like I know a lot of people hold up together during COVID, and it like ruined their relationship because it was just way too much time spent together, usually too soon in a relationship. Definitely see that here in the movie. I think it could work without the horror element, because some of the stuff that's shown here is like things that are pretty scary to deal with, like somebody who does go crazy for you and you don't feel the same. And like yeah, I think it really taps into the relationship anxiety that a lot of the younger generation has right now. Like, everybody's in a fucking situationship. You wonder why.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the horror of entitlement or nice guy horror. This is something kind of new, I guess, as we're talking about progressing and dealing with the younger generation. Um, Beer is frightening because he's a monster or because he represents something real? Or do you not find Bear frightening at all? Angus, we'll start with you again.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure that I would say Bear is a monster. I think he does represent a certain part of reality. I think he represents people's experiences. And I don't think he starts out as a monster. I think he maybe becomes more of one over the course of it. And like a lot of good monster movies, you always feel sorry for the monster to some degree. So I don't know. I wouldn't class him as like a really horribly monstrous character, but I think that there's probably a lot of people who identify with that. And again, the younger generation, with all the difficulties they've faced with the pandemic and stuff like that, not knowing how to connect with real people in real life. And I know at some point there were people who didn't even want that. They were saying they just wanted online relationships. And so there's a lot of weirdness out there today that I don't really understand. But I think that there are a lot of people who can identify with that sort of unrequited love, being interested in somebody who maybe doesn't know you're alive or doesn't care about you. And I know, back in my younger days, I had conversations with a lot of guys who would be kind of obsessed with a particular woman. And what we used to say is, you're kind of building up this relationship. Like you haven't even talked to this woman, you haven't asked her out, and she could just say no. But here you are building up, you're spending weeks thinking about her and thinking about all these things, and you're building it up into something that it's going to be really painful if she says no, right? But if you just walked up to her and asked her out and she said no, you'd be like, okay, well, and you'd move on because you haven't really invested all that time and imagining what this relationship might be like. So, yeah, I think he does represent a very real experience for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen some movies that kind of represents this. I mean, I would put the King of Comedy at the top of that list for feeling like you're owed something from someone else. You're owed like a certain amount of respect or attention or some kind of emotions, and you're building up a relationship with another person that isn't real. It's all very much one sided in your mind, and when you don't get that reciprocation, it can be horrific, I guess. So,
Yeah.
Letty, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Um, I didn't find him monstrous at all. I didn't
Mm.
find him frightening. In fact, by the end of it, I was like, what a goddamn pussy. Like, I don't like this character. Like, no wonder Nikki didn't like him. Yes, he did. He did make a wish that, like basically made the whole movie a horror movie. And terrible things happened because he made that wish. But it was such a harmless, innocent wish in my mind. Like everybody, mind you, they are, I think, like college age. So I feel like what they're going through resonates more with like what I've been through in high school, like the unrequited love of somebody in the friends group that you hang out with all the time. But regardless, like they still give off that like very young, very innocent. They haven't learned those lessons yet. And yeah, like I've been in that situation where I was really into somebody in the friends group, and I just wish so badly that they would be into me too. Like, I don't find that to be monstrous. And the fact that like he everything that happened to him in the movie, I felt like he was the victim. Like he could not, like I don't feel like he did anything to make anything worse other than be a fucking pussy and not just like get up and leave. Or I mean, you know, there was that one scene where he tried to take her to the hospital, but honestly there were so many points where he should have just been like, yeah, no, this is fucked, I need to get some help. But I didn't find him scary at any point.
Yeah, it's kind of odd in that it has like a social message about entitlement and the lonely man. But usually, at least recently, that movies with messages, especially messages against young white men, they get total backlash. And it's like, oh, like, you know, like we don't need your like liberal messaging, and you know, they get canceled right away because people don't want to hear that. There's like young white men don't want to hear that they're the problem anymore. But ironically enough, this movie has gotten no backlash from his social messaging. And its message is clearly this guy is a bad guy and he is a young white entitled man. And I kind of agree with you in the sense that I don't think he's that bad, you know, but he's supposed to clearly be the antagonist in this movie. But I kind of agree with you, but I find it surprising there's no backlash. Why do you think that is, Angus? Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that there is some backlash in the sense that just going through reviews after watching the film last night, I think there are a number of critics, a lot of them are female, who are saying that this movie doesn't go far enough in terms of condemning him as this really horrible person and that he's guilty of all these things. And I thought, well, they're going a bit far in their articles, but so there's a
No,
small group
but
of
my point
people.
being is that usually the backlash is people saying that young white men shouldn't be the villain in all of these movies. So
Right, I
what
see.
you're saying is that they should have gone even further, which is amplifying my point in that people are accepting of a young white guy being the villain in this movie when they don't accept it in other movies. When they're
Yeah.
marginalized, like when the prince was marginalized in Snow White, a movie we reviewed, there was a ton of
Hmm.
backlash, you know, about girl
Yeah.
bosses not needing a man. And, you know, when the actress joked that, like, he might be cut out the movie completely. That clip went
Yeah.
viral, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think that that's the other side of this is that I think he's not enough of a bad guy that most people would recognize him. I think a lot of people, again, I didn't see him as a bad guy, especially at the beginning of the story. I thought he was just some poor loser who, was obsessed with this woman and was going to wind up getting hurt because, again, he's
You
building
said
up
it,
the
Angus.
relationship.
Poor
Yes,
loser.
that's right. And so, and I think the movie does work hard in a way to set him up as somebody we can feel sympathy for because, I mean, just that whole beginning where he's talking about his feelings for her, is making it very clear. And then, things happen like his cat dying, which make you feel sad, sorry for him. You see his emotion. And so they kind of build up the front end with a lot of stuff that makes you go, wow, this poor guy, like, he deserves some good in his life. Everything's going wrong for him. And so it's really only when he starts to make poor choices that you start to go, wait a minute, maybe this guy is a little bit not so nice, but on the other hand, I don't know that it ever goes far enough in that direction for at least for me and for a lot of people to really condemn him completely. I think he's more complicated. He's not a purely bad guy, at least the way I saw it.
Yeah, I think they only touch on it a bit in the movie itself of like, you know, the outside perspective of his friends. basically saying like he's a bad guy and he's taking advantage, because they don't know what we know as the audience. But that's the only time I really see that as like a thing. The rest of it, I agree with Angus, is like, yeah, we're made to feel bad for him, like he's in this terrible position all because he wanted his friend to like him back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting. And interesting that Letty goes hard at him. And I guess I appropriately named that subject Nice Guy Horror. Because clearly, nice guys finish last in the eyes of women. So keep that in mind.
Yes, they do.
Did
I cut you off, Angus? Were you about to say something?
No, well, I was just going to say that, and I think the movie does work in favor of what we're saying, in the sense that, you know, his friends do view him as taking advantage of her, but then we see the other scenes where we see her doing all kinds of crazy things and kind of terrifying him. So, you know, I think the movie would need to do something different in those scenes if they wanted us to agree with the friends completely that he's taking advantage. I don't think it doesn't seem that way when you can see what's going on over there.
Mm.
Yeah, but I do see how people could watch this and be like, you know what, he is still the bad guy, because there's one side of the coin where everyone's like, okay, he knows that it's not her, he knows that it's the spell, the wish, and he's still, you know, going along with it, he's still getting what he wants. But I'm on the other side of the token, which is that he has a really weak mind and he's just in fucking denial the entire time until it's literally in his face that she's a crazy possessed bitch and you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah. And again, at the front end, he does try to do the right thing. He says, "Oh, I think you've been drinking. I think you're on drugs. I think you better go home." I think, you know, like he's not immediately trying to take advantage of her. And so it kind of eases into the fact that he accepts it. And you could argue that it's also the pressure of her really wanting this, you know, because she becomes this obsessed being that he can't say no. Like he's just this weak person. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll go with this. And there's a part of him that kind of wants it. So it's complicated, right? It's not that he's a predator who is slipping something into her drink and trying to take advantage of her, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Obsession versus love. I don't like the fact that you glanced at me when you said, you know what I mean. I would never do that. I don't like that implication.
I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, you said it. It was very, very clear.
I know. I think he needs more sleep. I don't
know. Yes, I think so.
Let's go with obsession versus love. Does Bear love Nikki, or does he love the idea of Nikki? So I've kind of been in this position before where I've obsessed over a girl and either like I didn't let her know my feelings, or I kind of just obsessed over the idea of her. Now, generally, when I cast my movies, I look for certain specific things. You have to be young, attractive. My movies are very graphic. There's sex scenes, there's nudity, there's violence, there's drug use, there's a lot of things that people aren't comfortable with, either like religion or, you know, they don't want their boyfriend or their father to see them in certain positions or whatever it is. Like, there's a vast majority of the women that I audition for my movies that they're just not a good fit. So when I do find someone that's a good fit, that not just is okay with the content in my films, but likes my scripts, likes the part, is excited to be in my movie, naturally, I'm excited and there is an attraction there. And I generally, like, you know, gravitate towards them. But it's not for them. It's for the fact that they fit that mold. It's not for, like, their personality or who they are. And it generally leads either to a situation where it's unrequited and it's just an obsession, or it's a toxic relationship where it's like, oh, this is who you are and this is who I am, and we're not actually a match, you know, once we get past, you know, the 4 weeks that we shot this movie, you know? So I've kind of been in this position before where I fell in love or been obsessed with, fell in love is way too strong, been obsessed with someone, but the idea of that person just like a physical attraction and like the validation that they like something about my work and not even something about me as a person. I don't even know them as a person. Like, what do you think of that in the context of this movie? And have you ever experienced that yourself, Angus?
Seán, I have to say that was really ballsy to say, and I
Really?
hope that I hope no future female actresses that want to be in your movie see this stream, because it's kind of like, oh, okay, my director might fall in love with me as I do the movie.
Hey,
Well, I think there have been movies about that too, haven't there?
yeah,
Directors
yeah.
casting actresses, and yeah.
Well, I'm not saying every actress in every movie. I'm just saying it's happened before.
No, yeah.
It could be you.
Yes. Well,
I promise I'm sweating because of the heat, not because of nerves. Okay? It's like 90 degrees, and I have.
Don't worry, it's too blurry
conditioner.
to be able to see the sweat.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, I think we've all been there. I think any man has been there where he's been maybe obsessed or interested in a woman and feeling somewhat inept or unable to express his feelings, or fear of rejection and all that kind of stuff. And I think we've all been there where we've kind of built things up a bit because we're imagining what it would be like, but we don't really know. We don't really know often anything about the person. We just have very brief interaction with them, and we get ideas. Often just based on how physically attractive they are. And that kind of thing. But in this movie, is he actually interested in her? Does he actually understand her, or is he building it all up? It's kind of hard to say because I don't know if the movie really gives us enough information about her for us to say, oh, he's right, she's amazing, what an amazing person. I can see why he is obsessed with her. I don't really think there's a lot of information available to us. We're just kind of going with what he's saying. So did he build it all up, or has he known her for a year or two? Does he really know her well? I'm not sure. I can't say if he's really.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is that a filmmaking choice to not give us a lot of like her backstory, or is that just trying to amplify the fact that he's just seeing her as this fantasy girl and not wanting to be a real part of her life?
I thought they did say in the movie that like they had classes together and stuff.
Well, I'm saying
so
Angus's point in that like he didn't really like connect with her. Like, for instance, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the story right now, but there was a point where he got her the gift that started this whole thing, and it wasn't any real thought put into it. He just went out and, oh, what am I going to get? That. No, she wouldn't like that. All right, I'll grab that. And that was it. But then when she gives him a gift, it's something that she put a lot of thought into. It's something that belonged to her mother, and she wants to support him and really like see him have his, because she's like, hey, you want to be a food critic, this is going to help you. And like she shows that she cares about him, but he doesn't really show that. So is that just him being shallow? Even though he knows her, he doesn't really know her like that.
Yeah.
Because you can be around someone and not really know them, not take the time to invest in.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, especially when it's things like work or class, you can spend a lot of time together without really talking about stuff other than the work at hand or the class itself. Like you don't necessarily get to know the real person behind that.
Because even what he liked most about her, what he established early on, it wasn't anything that she did. Oh, I like the fact that she was there for me. It's still all about him. He didn't say like anything specifically that he liked about her. I like the fact that she was there for me when my grandmother died,
Yeah.
It's kind of self-centered in a way.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say that's related to people always falling in love with their therapists, because they talk to their therapist and they tell them all these very personal things, and they start to feel things because they think, oh, we're getting close, we're establishing some intimacy here, but it's really just you talking about your feelings and they're doing their job. Or in this case, she's maybe just being a good friend, listening to his feelings. And so now he feels like there's a real emotional connection there. But maybe she doesn't. Although she does say something about him being the only one she can talk to about stuff, and that he's not a total brick wall. So she must feel there's something good in him that she likes.
But we're talking about him towards her, though.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think about that fantasy versus reality? What happens if someone falls in love with an imagined version of another person, Letty?
Well, so I do think that he did love her, not just the idea of her, but I think he loved her as a friend. And that's because he never got to really experience Nikki in like a relationship love context. And then when he does start to experience it, at first it's great, but you know, that's the limerence phase, the very beginning of a romantic relationship. It's always going to be great. And then beyond that is where you see whether or not, okay, is this real love or isn't it? And you do see that he's like pulling away and he's not really into it. You literally see it like happen in the montage. And he does reference it a couple of times where he thinks that it's not her. Like she's not being the Nikki that he knows and that he, you know, quote unquote, fell in love with. So that tells me that like he did really like her. He did really have feelings for the real Nikki because he could see that she wasn't the real Nikki later. Although he wouldn't accept that truly until towards the end. But so I think he did love her, but as a friend. And as far as like, he was kind of selfish, like with the whole the crystal thing and buying the willow stick, and yeah, like with her being there for his grandmother, for when his grandmother passed and all that. Like he was kind of selfish, but I don't know, that's just like a depiction of his character and who he is, not so much like if he was truly in love with her, he wouldn't be so selfish. Like, yes, love is supposed to be selfless, but I think it also depends on the person. Like, I think he's just young, dumb, and
Full of cum.
hasn't learned yet. Yeah, exactly.
To finish the lyric.
Yeah.
Let's talk about consent and agency. Can love exist without freedom? What do you think, Angus?
Probably not. I mean, if people don't have a choice, how can it be love, right? I think that, you know, it's like that old saying about if you love something, set it free, and if they really love you, they'll come back to you, or whatever it is. I'm not saying it exactly right, but that idea that, yeah, people need to be able to choose. They need to have free will. And I think that's kind of what he's feeling in parts of the movie is, you know, are you only here because you're being forced to be here, you know, and that, you know, that's not good. Like nobody wants to feel that, right? I think on some level, nobody wants to feel that, you know, the other person is just pretending or, you know, is in some way, I guess if you're in a position of authority, you can sometimes force people to fall in line and do what you say. And, you know, a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. And so, yeah, I think without freedom, it would be pretty hard for love to exist.
But what do you think about that, Letty? Because there are imbalances in relationships all the time where one person needs or wants control or dominates a relationship over another person. It could be an age gap thing where one person's older than the other and always wants to control everything the younger person does. It could be a financial gap thing where the person who's paying the bill says, listen, it's going to be my way or you're going to hit the streets, you know, or it could be any number of things. It could be an attraction thing where one person is more attractive than the other and has more options. It's like, all right, if you like it, you know, I'll just sleep with your best friend or just whatever, you know, there's never a 100% 50-50. But sometimes there is like a bit of a bigger imbalance. So what do you think about like being in a relationship that's a little bit toxic in that way where someone is very dominant in it?
Well, I mean, everything that you just listed is definitely not love. Like that's the definition of.
But
like
there are a lot of
toxic
relationships
relationship.
that
doesn't mean
describes.
it's yeah, it's a toxic love. It's a unhealthy and insecure attachments, which is not a healthy type of love and relationship. I agree with Angus that like you cannot have true love without freedom, because real love is choice. If you don't have the choice, then how do you know that they're staying with you because they love you? How do you know it's not because of some financial reason or reputation or some mental imbalance of their own, aka codependency, which they did reference in the movie? Like, it was very clear from the outsider's perspective that this was toxic, and I actually like that they made her in the movie, like, the further the toxic love went along, the more that her body started to deteriorate and show that toxicity. I thought that was like a nice imagery. But I mean, as far as like the concept of consent, I think was depicted in both of them. Like, he took away her consent, not really realizing that he took away her consent, but he took away her consent with the stick, the wish. And at the same time, she took away his consent eventually. Like, she was keeping him from leaving. Every time he started to say no, like, I don't want to do this or I don't want to do that, she would guilt trip him, or she would act crazy and intimidate him and threaten him, and in some cases got physical. So I thought it was really interesting to show that, like, a toxic love like that, you can have it on both sides, and even if it starts out with one or the other, or it starts out small, like, it gets worse and worse for both people. Like, it's very rarely like a one person is the big villain overall.
Yeah. So, I mean, both of you guys might be in healthy relationships, which may be skewing. Am I freezing up or something?
You're back.
Yeah,
Oh.
you were a bit sluggish getting going there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. God. I'm going to get severe PTSD doing this show. But, I mean, both of you guys are probably in very healthy relationships, which is probably skewing your point of view right now. But toxicity doesn't
I
always...
have been in very unhealthy relationships. That's why I know so much.
But then you would know that toxicity doesn't always present itself at the beginning of a relationship. So it's too dismissive to say, oh, well, that's wrong, you shouldn't be in that type of relationship. Sometimes it happens so far into the relationship that feelings have already developed, and it's not easy to now come out of an imbalanced relationship where you feel your agency isn't there anymore.
I agree with that. That is apparent, and they did start slow with it. They did start slow with the toxicity and the peeling away of consent and the deterioration of her body, and like just things getting worse and worse. And that is true, that like in very toxic relationships, and especially like very violent and abusive relationships like this one, it does get harder and harder to leave. But typically in those kinds of situations, they happen over much longer periods of time and much like slower extremity building. It doesn't go from like 50 to 100 the way it did in this movie, where you should have literally been like, no, I need to like get the hell out of here. And he also had like, all of his friends like there commenting and saying all of this stuff like from the get-go. Usually with those kinds of relationships, you'll have like some isolation, which he did do a little bit, but not enough where it's like, okay, I'm not going to listen. Like, you're not hearing from your people anymore, trying to be the voice of reason, and then you're not trusting them anymore. Like, I think this does portray that message, but it's a horror movie, so they did it very like quick and very like we want to portray this message, but in a horror movie fashion. And realistically, I don't think a guy being in that situation would, like, at least, okay, maybe a guy like him, but most guys in that situation, at the first sign of that level of crazy, is like, nah, You gotta get out. Like, I made a mistake. Like, this is gonna work.
You'd
Yeah.
be surprised how many women are crazy, though.
It made me think
If you
about that. It
dismiss
made me
every
wonder.
crazy woman, then there's going to be a lot less to choose from.
It made me wonder that, like, with the crazy hot scale, like, how many guys do you really put up with, like, a lot of crazy just because they're really hot and they're really into this girl?
Not
And
just
I'm
that,
like,
it's partly because they're really hot, but it's partly because a lot of women are crazy. It's just a matter of like, oh God, how can I control the crazy? How can I tame the crazy?
but like
Your
this
dress
level
looks
of
great.
crazy.
The shoes look great. No, don't flip out. Like, we can do it whatever you want tonight. You always have to concede because you don't want that crazy to come out. It's like the Hulk. You can see him like turning. It's like, she's
But
turning.
like this level of crazy. Like, okay, for instance, with the sleep thing, the first time that he woke up and she's in the corner watching him sleep. Why didn't you break it off right then and there, buddy? Like, when I was 14, I had the sense to break up with somebody because they wanted to stay on the phone while I was sleeping and listen to me sleep. I was like, no, that's it for me. That is like, that's as much as I could. That's really creepy. So this is not going to work. Like, come on.
Yeah. Not everyone's like you.
As much sense.
Some people are okay being listened to while they sleep. So.
Oh, aren't there some streamers who do that? They just sleep and they leave the stream on, and people can watch them sleeping. Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God. There's been horror movies where they've done that. They show that how bad things can happen. I mean, granted, there is the parallel with that. Like, I could connect with that with like my creepy sleep thing, but I'm sure lots of people could connect with that scene on waking up to a partner who's just absolutely obsessed with you and they're awake and they're staring at you and you're going, oh, hi, good morning, like, were you watching me sleep? Yeah. Oh, okay. But that's this was an extreme version of that. She's in the corner of the room.
Yeah. Well, it's also turning an old romantic trope on its ear in the sense that you do see that in some romantic films where somebody's watching the other person sleep, or they wake up. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just watching you sleep, and it's sort of seen as a romantic thing. But here it's not at all. It's very different.
Yeah. Let's talk about loneliness versus entitlement. Is Bear actually lonely? Is he entitled? Can both be true? The movie doesn't present loneliness as actually being evil, but loneliness can create sympathy, and combining the two can become dangerous, as we see in this movie. At what point does someone's pain stop explaining their behavior and start revealing their character? What do you think, Angus?
Well, I think he's lonely. I think there's no doubt about that. I think he's legitimately lonely. And I think he, again, represents a lot of people out there. I think a lot of people are lonely. And you keep hearing this phrase about the male loneliness epidemic. And some people, feel that that's crap and they don't want to talk about that. Other people say, no, it's very real. And it's a legitimate issue. But regardless, just a person, being lonely. And again, coming out of the pandemic, where a lot of people were forced to be alone. I think it's something a lot of people can identify with, is feeling like you're alone, even when you're in a group of people. You feel like you're alone. His grandmother's gone, his cat is gone. He's got nothing in a way. So I think he is legitimately lonely. I don't know if he's entitled at the beginning of the story. I didn't think of him as an entitled character. He didn't expect, if he was entitled, he would expect her to just say yes to him immediately. He wouldn't feel any fear about asking her out, at least the way I think about entitlement. I think he would expect everything to come his way, and I don't think he does. I think he expects to be a loser, which is kind of what he is. So,
well, there is one turning point that actually addresses that.
Okay.
And we all agree that he is lonely, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a point where she's talking to him, the actual her inside there.
Mm-hmm.
and she just wants to end it. And then he says, "What's so bad about being with me?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the turning point right there, where it's like, okay, now you're mixing loneliness with entitlement. Like, what's like, she doesn't want to be with you, and you're like, you're not letting her go. What's so bad about being with me? He refuses to let her go. He's entitled to that relationship. So he's combining the loneliness with entitlement in that particular situation. And we do see the dangers of that, I think, in the very next scene in the movie. So.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really see that as him being entitled. I mean, I think he actually says, "What would be so bad about being with me?" And to me, that was just him trying to understand, I'm a loser. Nobody wants to be with me. Like, why? What is so bad about me? And I think if somebody asks you to kill them, I mean, it's normal to kind of go, no, I'm not going to kill you. Like, that's a pretty extreme
But let's take
thing
the
to
kill
suggest.
extreme part out of the way. She's like, "I don't want to be with you." Let's leave the kill part out of the way. Him saying like, "Hey, what would be," or whatever the exact quote is, "so
Hmm.
bad about being with me," is saying, "I'm not breaking up with you." Isn't that the definition of entitlement? What do you think, Letty?
Um, I think this goes into the theme and the message of like this kind of toxic relationship where it's I love you, I hate you type stuff. And at that point, they've already done quite a bit of that. He was already insecure from being lonely or whatever, but he was already an insecure character. And so when you go into a relationship like that, where it's this, I'm crazy about you, to the point of, oh, I fucking hate your guts whenever you say no, or whenever she comes to consciousness, it makes you more insecure. It makes you more codependent. It makes you be like, okay, no, I want to fight for this relationship because that's the position he's been put in multiple times. So I don't think when she comes to and she's like, please kill me, that he's actually comprehending that it's her begging to get out of the relationship, like coming through the possession or whatever the fuck. And he's just in that state of mind of that I have to fight for my relationship. I have to fight for who I am because now my sense of self is tied to this relationship. Like I feel like it explores like some really deep psychological themes within toxic relationships that it's too easy to say, oh, he's entitled, or like stuff like that. Like I think it's pretty complex. Yes, is he a little bit entitled or selfish? Yeah, but that's also how you end up staying and being in those kinds of toxic relationships. You're insecure and you just, yeah, you think you know what's best for you and you have no idea because you probably don't even love yourself.
Let's talk about emotional immaturity. What does Bear actually want? And he clearly wants her, right? But he doesn't want the rejection possibility. And I think that's part of what a lot of men or people can relate to in this day and age. She's like, "Do you like me?" And right at the beginning of the movie, he could have answered that question and none of this would have happened. It would have been a yes or a no and moved on. But
Coward. Loser.
do you have Tourette's?
Pussy. Yeah, I do.
So, but this is something, I'll let you go first this time, Letty, since it seems like you have a lot to say about this. But there is that heightened sense of rejection in today's age where it's like you can go viral for saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. Sending a text can go viral. A conversation can be recorded on a cell phone. Or, you can be exposed to your friend group as a creep just for simply like approaching someone in a romantic way. So there is a lot of risk there. So I know you think less of him for not wanting to take that risk. Clearly, you fully established that. But do you somewhat empathize with today's culture and how rejection is amplified with social media and technology?
Well, I think the fear of rejection is a big part of the problem. I mean, and that's where this reads, okay, he's giving red pill because he doesn't want to be rejected. And he puts her on this pedestal. He has this relationship with her in his head. He gets to that point where he's like, oh, like, what's so bad about being with me? Like, he becomes like that red pill kind of guy. But at the same time, he actually is a victim in the movie because of his red pill thinking. But I like, just say what you feel. Like, so what? So what? You get rejected. Okay, then it's done, then it's over with. And I think that that's part of the reason that he did that is because he did not want to face the fact that he would have to lose the fantasy of her that he had in his head. And that would just be that, because okay, if she says no, then that's it. Also, I guess it would ruin the friendship, is what most guys think would happen. They're kind of right. But like, I don't think it has so much to do with like the fear of like being exposed or going viral or anything like that. Cause it's like, okay, oh, it turns out so-and-so likes me. Like, I feel like
But imagine being in love with
especially,
someone and the fear that they may laugh at you or they may reject you, and now you have to be in that friend group with them after that rejection. Like, how's
yeah,
trivia night for those guys after she turns him down?
I mean, but the beginning of the movie and up until that point, that's all he can talk about. He's literally practicing to tell her that he likes her, and then he gets the opportunity to not have to bring it up awkwardly and have to say it first. He gets the opportunity to just answer her question, which is, "Do you like me?" And first off, if she's bringing it up, that means she can tell. Okay, you're making it awkward. She can tell. She wants to either tell you that she likes you back or bury the hatchet and be friends with you. So
That
like
hatchet can go very
he,
deep. That hatchet
yeah,
can,
yeah,
it can
it can.
scar you for life. It can
but
leave a
that's
wound.
but that's part of life. Like, you have to deal with rejection, even from the people that you're closest with, because getting rejected by somebody that you're not close with, that's not a big deal. You're not going to really like learn much from that. But getting rejected by somebody that you already have an established relationship with, and you want to like continue to have some form of relationship, that shows that you can accept things to change, and you might actually really like that person for who they are and not just what they can give you.
But imagine being in that group and like she rejected you and you guys are still friends and you see her laughing with someone at the bar and be like, are they talking about me? Are they laughing at me? Like that paranoia that's gonna be with him like that whole time, you
Well,
know?
I don't think that she's that type of person, and I don't think he thinks that she's that type of person where she's just gonna like go make fun of him after she rejects him. Like,
You know
I think
how
that
she will never be that type of person? If he never tells her, then he'll never find out if she's that type of person. So, Angus, do you want to throw your 2 cents in this?
I do. This was one of the points where I thought, no, I don't buy this. Like this character, he's a loser, but this is taking it to an extreme. I mean, we've all been in that situation where we like somebody and we just can't say it because we're afraid. But when she opens the door for him and she says, "Do you like me?" There's literally no stakes here because he could just say, "Well, yes. Yes, of course." And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? He could just say, "Yes, I do like you." And then she'd have to drill down further and say, "But do you like me as more than a friend?" And then he'd have to cross that bridge. But to kind of just not answer that question. I just thought that is ridiculous. And especially when he has been sort of planning to broach this subject, she just opened the door. She made it so easy. And he didn't have to make it a big deal. He could have just said, yes, I do. And that's so easy. So
He
I
also
just,
could have made it a joke. He could
yeah,
have been like, yeah, I do like you as like more than a friend. What do you think about that? And then based on her reaction, oh, I like you too. Oh, great. Move on. Oh, that's so weird. I was just joking. Like, he could have done that. Somebody who's not a loser would have thought of that.
Well, clearly he couldn't have done that because he didn't rehearse that in the diner, obviously. So,
Yeah. That's because his friend gave him bad rehearsal advice. His friend.
yes.
yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get to that. So this is
Mhm.
kind of one of those types of be careful what you wish for, those wish horror movies. And I feel this kind of combines a lot of them. You have the monkey's paw, which is the
Mhm.
person gets exactly what they asked for, and it becomes the horror because it's literally like it's like you're getting a wish from someone who is autistic. Exactly what you said is what you're getting, no nuance at all, you know.
Yeah.
There's the Faustian bargain, where it's like you're making a bargain in exchange for power or desire or something like that. The cursed object, where you have to read the fine print or follow the
Mhm.
rules exactly. And I think this kind of combines a lot of those elements in there into that, be careful what you wish for aspect. But I think it did enough differently that it didn't feel too derivative. Like, it didn't feel like seeing like Scream 7, where it's like, oh my god, I've seen this formula so many times, like I can't deal with it anymore. Like, I don't think the formula got to me. What do you think, Angus? I'm sure you've seen a lot of movies that follow that formula.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And right away, you can't help but think of the monkey's paw and so many different versions of that
I think
story out
even
there.
the Barker said himself that he got it from the idea from The Simpsons, which did a monkey's paw
Yes.
episode.
Yes.
So
Which I find really interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking more directly to the monkey's paw, but then it's, oh, yeah, the Simpsons version of the monkey's
The
paw,
Simpsons did
where they
it.
they make it really clear, and even Homer is smarter than this guy, right? Because Homer's like, no, I don't want this and I don't want that, and don't give me 6 eyeballs or whatever it is he says, because he knows how these wishes go bad, right? There's also that whole series of films called The Wishmaster. They made like 4 or 5 of those films where
Yeah.
it's kind of he
There's
kind of goes to,
Hellraiser. There's a lot of
yeah,
movies that deal with that type of
yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, I mean, we've seen it a lot, and I would agree that this one is a little different. I think we have never seen it quite like this before. And in some ways, I would have preferred it if it was more like the monkey's paw in a way. Um, the way it works is kind of odd to me. I'm not sure how well they thought that out. Like when you're writing science fiction, you really have to know, how does this world work? When you're writing about this kind of magic, how does this work? And I feel that there's a lot of questions there. But yeah, I thought, for the most part, I was going with it as, yeah, okay, this is kind of different, but yet familiar at the same time. Um, but yeah, I kind of would have liked there to be a little more of that monkey's paw spirit, where the wishes, you know, something about the way you do it. Oh, I screwed that up. I got to try to fix it. I wanted to see something more like that than what this film was doing. And I wanted him to be a bit smarter about it than he was. Even Homer Simpson was smarter than him, I thought. So,
Dope.
yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Letty?
Um, I'm not super familiar with the monkey's paw.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of like an autistic wish. You whatever you wish for, you get exactly that, and then
Hmm.
the paw, one finger goes down. I think it has like three
Mm,
fingers or something, and then when all the
Yeah.
fingers go down, your wishes are up.
okay.
Well, I can give
So,
one example, which is that you wish for money, and so something terrible happens, like a person dies, and then you collect the insurance money. And so it's
mm,
like, ooh, I screwed that up. I shouldn't have done that. And we kind of see something like that in this movie, where it just, money literally falls out of the sky, and it's like, how does this even work? Like, the magic doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, or you
It
get
makes
money and then the IRS comes and you have to,
well,
you didn't
that's
pay
the
your
problem, right?
taxes, and yeah.
That's the problem. Like, if you're going to wish for money, you want it to come like, oh, I won the lottery or something, and then so it's explained, right? It's like, oh, you came into money, but $1 billion falls out of the sky. You can't do anything with that. You got to bury it and pretend you don't have it, right? So, anyway, that's
So
kind of
this kind of read to me more as like this was definitely like the spiritual part of the movie that I did enjoy them incorporating, and I felt like they incorporated it because it's also trending on social media, like witchcraft and things like this that you would pick up in like a metaphysical shop, like what he was in. um, I think the wish made sense, and I understood immediately when he made the wish why the movie was called Obsession, because he didn't say, "Oh, I wish she was obsessed with me." Like, he did say, "I wish like Nikki would love me more than anyone else," and that is a thing within witchcraft and a lot of wish making mythology as well, that you can't wish for somebody to love you. You also can't wish for anybody to come back to life. And there's a third one. I can't remember what it is. But those are like, the the tenets of that. And they did stick with it. And that is what happens in witchcraft, is like there is no such thing as a love spell. You can have like a love spell where you enhance somebody's love for you, or if they do love you, you get them to bring it out or show it. You can't just create love out of thin air. So what happens is it becomes an obsession spell. And I do like that they made it so that, like, okay, you can't break this unless you die, because that is how that works in witchcraft. Like, you can't break an obsession spell. Once you cast it, it's done, and the other person will go crazy. So I like that they incorporated that. They also incorporated like the crystal thing in both parts of the movie, which is like in the beginning, she talks about how she lost her crystal, and coincidentally, right after that is when the spell happens. And I think that, like, maybe they were kind of hinting at, like, okay, if she had her crystal on, it would have like protected her maybe from the extremity of the spell. Like, because they did say for the stick that it doesn't always work. So maybe if she hadn't lost her protection crystal, it wouldn't have worked. I feel like is what they were kind of hinting at. And then same thing with like the tiger's eye, which I recognize tiger's eye as like, it's something that manifests passion. So I thought that was funny when she gave it to him. It was like, oh, like, I want you to be more passionate about our relationship and your love for me. So I'm going to give you this tiger's eye. But it could also have been like a message from the real Nikki, that like, oh, I forget what else tiger's eye represents, but there's many ways they could have gone with that. But
It represents
like
the thrill of the hunt, rising up to the challenge of our rivals, and the less known survivor stalks prey in the night.
That is. It also represents courage. So the real Nikki could have been gifting him the tiger's eye to also be like, hey, I need you to man the fuck up and like recognize it's not me and save me from this spell. I was left with a lot of questions though about like, I did find it humorous, and I thought it was interesting when they called the people, and they were just like basically fucking with them, like, oh, you could cancel. No, you can't cancel. And then the interesting part was when she was screaming in the background. So up until that point, I thought, like, she's just gone crazy, and is obsessed with him and not in love with him. But when we heard her screaming, it's like, oh, okay, so she's possessed. Like something else.
Since we're getting into details, let's just get into the review and start going into details, since we're already doing that now. Which one of you guys want to take the reins for this?
You want to track through from the beginning?
Yeah, let's go quick back through the scenes, and since we're already starting to talk details, let's get into the details.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can do it but if Letty, if you want to do it, that's cool too.
So first off, I didn't know that this was a Blumhouse production. So
Yes.
when I
So
saw
it was
when I saw
not a
that,
Blumhouse production. They bought the rights to it. He made it himself for
Okay.
under $1 million. Blumhouse bought it. I think they got 15 million. Barker and the producers for their investment, and then everything else, the profits went to Blumhouse. So Blumhouse made the majority of like the 450 million or whatever the movie made. A lot of that goes to Blumhouse. They only got 15 million. Only 15 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I saw Blumhouse right in the beginning, I got excited. I was like, oh, this is a Blumhouse film. Cool. Means it's going to be extra scary. So do you want me to like walk through like what happens in the movie, or like my reactions to like
Oh, just walk through
going
the movie, and then
movie?
you can give your reactions, and then we can chime in with our thoughts in those scenes and stuff like that as we scroll
Okay,
through
so
it.
just go back. So it starts out with him, basically rehearsing as we find out that he wants to tell this girl that he's crazy about, that he's really into her. And I really liked that they kind of did like a little bit of a mind fuck with that in the beginning of like, oh, it sounds like he's obsessed with somebody. And obviously that's not the case. And it immediately introduces like the whole love versus obsession right out the gate. So
Before
I
you
did
move on,
like
I
that.
actually have some thoughts on that as well. I thought it was great the way they established his loneliness right away, because in that scene, when he mentions why he likes her, is because she was there when his grandmother died. And that's a major thing because we see he's in a big empty house, whereas, that was from his grandmother that he got. So obviously they had a close relationship that she would leave the house to him. So he's lonely from that, the loss of his grandmother, being in a big empty house, and then as he goes home, we see his cat died. So he basically has nothing at the beginning of the
Yeah.
movie, completely.
Yeah,
lonely.
and I like that juxtaposition of when they're the transition of like his friend saying, all you have is time, and then immediately comes home to a dead cat, who is now out of time. So it really sets like the tone for like his mindset of like why it is that you would think that he would just say, oh, I like you, instead he makes the wish. But it kind of gives that prep for, okay, this is why things go so extreme, because he realizes he may not have all this time. And I do like that we get to see the medication in the beginning, but I didn't understand what the meds were. So I would have liked to see that. But I thought that was interesting that we get a flash of the medication.
Yeah, it was good that the medication came back, but it's odd that how would the cat get into that cabinet to get the medication?
Yeah.
That's something that bothered me. Is I felt that this had to be his pills that he had left out carelessly, but then it obviously wasn't when they show the label and it's his grandmother's. And I thought, why would this be out with the cap off? Like, this just doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
I
A
didn't
cat
get
is
that.
not someone that can open a cupboard, open like a childproof,
Well,
pill
the only
bottle.
thing I can think of is that they were probably a type of sedative, for like end of life. I don't know how his grandmother passed, but it sounded like it was like a slow kind of passing, considering she was there to talk him through it. So the only thing of is maybe he was taking these pills like before bed or something, and it was also probably contributing to his loneliness, because they will definitely do that. But that's the only thing I could think of for like how these pills were just out for a cat to get into, and also why would you keep them unless you were gonna take them? So
yeah, struck me as odd. And not knowing anything yet, I wondered, are we going to meet a roommate who's like a real slob or something? Who
I thought
did this,
I agree. I completely thought there was going to be a follow up where like an explanation of how that happened.
Yeah.
I did like with the metaphysical shop. the, the employee there was just kind of like, whatever, go fuck yourself vibe. And the foreshadowing that they put in there about the Make-A-Wish stick. Like, I think she did say something like, oh, or like, you know, you could die or something like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, pretty obvious there.
Yeah, the only thing I mean, they obviously established the fact there and later on that in this world that is something that happens. It's not abnormal for that world that they're in. That is something that's real. But then it opens question like, well, what if someone I wish the sun disappeared, you know? Like there has to be limitations. There's no limitations like, you know, like
well, that's why she said sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work, because he did get into that with her of like, well, what are the complaints, and I thought that was interesting that they drew that out just a little bit before buying the stick, to show that like he did have some sense in the beginning, and then, you know, love is blind, I guess. And all sense goes out the window.
Just before we keep going, we should mention that before he goes to the store, the crystal shop, he's lying in bed and he actually has a phone call from Nikki, and that's where we first hear them interact. And she says, "I'm going to be leaving. You know, I'm quitting the job. I'm giving my 2-week notice." And she also tells him that she dropped her crystal down the drain or whatever it was. So we're setting some things up there.
Yeah, hence going to the crystal shop. Like, I feel like everything made sense, like storyline wise, like why the things happened, and it was just all very well placed. And I think there were some hints there too with the crystal, the citrine crystal. So it's funny, the citrine crystal, yes, it's like a sunshine in a crystal, but it's also like a very powerful like manifestation crystal. But I thought it was interesting that like that crystal, he was like, oh no, she wouldn't like that. And that made me think even more about the crystal that she lost, because we never get to hear about it or see it. So if she wouldn't like something that's like bright and sunshine looking, then that tells me that she's probably more into like the darker stuff, which means she probably would have had a black crystal, aka a crystal for protection. Again, just more like little spiritual stuff to throw in there.
When you say stuff like that, it's like Angus talking about movies from the 40s to you.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's to connect. It's to connect with that audience that is all over social media and that is like picking up on that, you know, manifestation trend and like all the spiritual trends that are happening right now. Because I definitely understood it, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's really interesting, you know, to hear this. Like, we've got an expert here who understands these things on a different level. Yeah, because I would have never gotten all those little details.
Yeah, I am the audience that they are trying to pertain to, and I definitely got that from like a lot of my followers in more ways than one. I could see why they were like, "Oh, have you seen Obsession yet? Have you seen Obsession yet?" I was like, "No, I haven't. Chill out." They're a little obsessed about me seeing Obsession.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and then, you know, we do get to see, it felt a little dragged up until this point of like her asking him if you like me. And I understand it's to give context of their relationship, of the friend group dynamic and everything. But it still felt like too much for a horror movie. Like, okay, we got it, you know. But it did make me connect more with the characters, which is not the norm in a horror movie, which I'll get into later for when some of them die. But yeah, I was like, why didn't he say he liked her when she asked? What a fucking loser. And then
God damn it, we get it. Stop calling him a loser.
This is what my audience wants to hear. And then so he makes the wish, and I think that was interesting too in the shop, that he went from I'm going to get her a gift to I'm going to get something for myself instead. And I'm not sure why they did that. Like, what was the reasoning to go from that to that? Like, was it
I think his intention was to give it to her as a novel. I think his intention was to give it to her as a novelty gift. But the way things played out, he ended up saying, "Oh, screw it," and broke it. I think it's supposed to be spontaneous that he used it for himself.
I think
but it's just dumb. Like, dumb to pick out. Let me, instead of
he's
getting
dumb,
her
he's stupid,
crystal,
he's a loser.
Yeah.
Like, instead of getting her a crystal or some sort of jewelry, like, I'm just gonna get her this Make-A-Wish stick. Like, oh, I wish my crystal didn't fall down the drain. Like, it'll come back. Like, which it probably would have. But it was just like, it just didn't make sense. So I was like, yeah, you're stupid.
I agree with both of you on this. And that's actually a good point. She could have wished for her crystal back.
I know it could have all turned out well if he actually gave it to her, right?
but I thought the same thing. Is why are you switching from this to that? It doesn't really make sense. But I think the movie was kind of working to make him more sympathetic again. That he wasn't buying it to actually make this wish. He was going to give it to her. And it's only because things took a bad turn that he kind of does it without even thinking. He just goes, "Oh, what the hell?" And he does it. And he doesn't really believe it's going to work in that moment. So we can still
you can't really put it like that, Angus. You have to do, he did it because he's a stupid idiot and a dummy and a retard. That's the only way she's going to connect with you.
That's all understood, though. It's all understood. But I also just have to say, like, the pub scene with all the characters, I was already kind of suspicious of his friend Ian. Just in that very first scene, I thought there's something. This guy's a dick, and I don't trust him. And then at the bar scene, he knows that he's trying to tell the girl that he likes her, but he's like getting in his face. He's getting in the way. It's like, what's going on here? Like, I don't trust him. I know there's something wrong here. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with the Make-A-Wish stick, you kind of see that, like, he becomes selfish in that moment when she rejects him. Well, not rejects him, but like he doesn't say that he likes her, and obviously that was the only reason that he was going to give her something at all. Is it was like, oh, I like you. Here's this gift in like reward for me telling you that I like you and you saying it back. But the fact that didn't happen, that showed selfishness, which bit him in the ass. Let's see.
So just to interject here, that we've kind of talked about this, but that moment there where she says, "Do you like me?" and then she says, "Now is the time to speak up." Like, do we actually think that he has a chance there? Like, she's actually, now is the time, speak to me now, or forever hold your peace. Like, what is she really saying there? Is she actually open to the possibility of dating him, or is this all something else?
I would say, based on what we find out later, that she was sleeping with his best friend, and that she knows, like, Sarah liked him, and she was laughing about the fact that Sarah liked him. I don't think she was into him, because we also find out she told Sarah that he's in the friend zone as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's to me, it's kind of a weird thing for her to do, to say that in that moment, because it kind of implies that, now's the time, like it kind of gives hope in a way. But then we find out later that she's already kind of said, "I'm not interested in him," to Sarah. So I find that a strange moment in retrospect.
Yeah, it would have been odd.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of lying. There was a lot of lying going on between friends. I mean, she was sleeping.
Literally lying, huh?
Yeah, literally. She was sleeping with Ian, but I mean, as they stated, like it was just hooking up. So it was clearly a situationship that wasn't going to go anywhere. And here she is knowing that, he likes her, Bear. So that would be like her best shot of like something that's not a situationship. 2, a way to make Ian jealous and get back at Ian. And then 3, her friend likes her. So I feel like Nikki's not a nice girl.
She's a little slut.
She's just not a nice girl. Like, this is not like a But we don't really know. We don't get to
Yeah.
find out how the real Nikki would have felt about that. Or she could have just been like, listen, like, I want you to tell me right now, because I'm just fed up of like all your awkwardness and need to nip it in the butt.
Or she could be like, "Hey, I'm pretty easy. I mean, I already slept with your best friend. If you want to, I'm kind of horny now. If you want to let me know now, we could just go into my apartment and just get this over with."
Yeah. So what happens next is that, yeah, the wish happened immediately. And you get this moment, this stillness of like her there in the doorway, that like, okay, this is all going to go very south. And I liked that. I like that they did a lot of like still lingering shots like that, and I think it really added to the creepiness level. But yeah, and then I feel like it went very quickly from her liking him to the dead cat. Like, it went very quickly from, okay, you really, really like me, and now you're doing weird shit with my dead cat. Like,
Yes. And I have to say that I thought this was one of the moments that worked the best, was when she first comes out and is acting so strange. And he's like, what's going on here? And it seems like she kind of has moments of clarity where she realizes, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's like the spell is working on her, but she's kind of still able to wake up from it and kind of go, whoa, wait, this is weird, you know? And I thought that was an interesting situation if she was going to be able to kind of sometimes fight it and sometimes not fight it. And I found that all very interesting. But I found it a little weird that he doesn't seem to immediately realize that it's the wish working, because he even looks back, you know, when she's acting weird, he looks back in the back seat at the wish or the stick, and so it's like he should be connecting this, but on some level
but he's a dumbass.
He's like, what's going on? Maybe you've been drinking, maybe you're on drugs, but you know, like Stephen King once wrote, the definition of an asshole is someone who doesn't believe what he sees. And I mean, this guy immediately, he makes the wish, and then boom, she's immediately there acting strange. And I think on some level you have to go, even if you don't believe this, if you think this is all bullshit, you have to go, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I just did this and now she's here. Like, whoa, this is weird. It's like if you've ever had that moment where you push a button and then something falls off the wall at exactly that moment. You kind of go, whoa, did I do that? What? Is that possible? Did I? And so you'll push the button again. You'll test it out. You'll try to figure out if this is what caused it, even if you didn't believe that that was possible. And I can't believe he doesn't immediately go, oh my God, I made this wish and now she's acting strange. And oh, what have I done? You know, I just find it strange that he doesn't actually deal with it on that level. He starts looking for other explanations. And anyway, I'm kind of getting a bit ahead of myself here, but it's one of my big problems with the movie is that he takes a long time before he actually goes back to the crystal shop and says, what the hell has happened here? Even though he was told, yeah, a lot of people come back and they complain. It doesn't seem to occur to him to do that, to go back and try to figure this out. And maybe, you know, if it's the monkey's paw, you know, you try to make another wish to correct the one that you screwed up, right? Something went wrong here. It's just so obvious to me right away that that's what he needs to do. He needs to go back and deal with this, at least eliminate this as a possibility. You know, it's crazy that this wish could work, but I'm seeing it. You know, I'm seeing this thing happening. I don't know. I found it. This is where I started to kind of not really buy what was going on.
This is
Well,
kind of a. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Letty.
I think that that's where the whole like entitlement and like insecurity and loneliness really comes into play, because it's like, okay, you know, am I really like that bad of somebody to be into, where it's not, there's no way this is real. Like, this has got to be this stick that I broke that is making this happen. Like that, like if you're a really insecure person and that's like what you're trying to level with, that just makes you so much more like insecure, and like basically accept that, oh wow, I really am very insecure if I think like nobody would love me it's just this, stick. So yeah, yes, it's obvious to us as the viewer, but for somebody who's like that insecure, I think that's probably what drives it to the denial for so long.
I would say this is where I start to get torn with the movie, where some of the best of it and the worst of it come out in that morning after scene where she breaks a little bit and goes in and out of her trance. It felt too derivative of Get Out, where you're conscious of being trapped in a body that you can't control. And then when you hear interviews, that's literally what they did. They just, oh, we'll do that thing they did in Get Out. And they're, again, you know, we've seen a lot of movies, Angus. I've seen so many movies. And there's so much of other movies I see in this movie. And something so contemporary as Get Out was a little too much. Like the older stuff I'm fine with, but it's like just Get Out isn't that old that you should be just like literally ripping off like major plot points from it, where it's like you're conscious in a body that you can't control and like you want out but you can't get out, literally. And it's also the best part of the movie as well. So this is my biggest tear with the movie. I think unlike Backrooms, which I think is an overall good movie, I think this is a decent movie with a great performance. And I give the director credit for the performance as well because he did direct her into it. But I think India, whatever, what the hell is her name? India Navarrette. Inde Navarrette. I think her performance is really like 90% of what carries this movie because it's pretty simple premise, pretty simple movie, but her performance is really what carries a lot of the movie. And that scene right there, the morning after, is where I think is where we start seeing like her stealing scenes and becoming like a focal point of not just the plot, but of like all that's good about the movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like her acting in this is what really carried it and made it so entertaining and intriguing to watch. I will say that yeah, I couldn't put my finger on like what parts were so familiar, but now that you mention it, yeah, that is a very similar thing to Get Out. And I did not really like that, like the whole possession thing instead of, oh, like we're just gonna just give her like basically show her in an extreme way of like we're just gonna make her crazy as like for the wish, because that's what happens when you wish for love. You just go crazy obsessed. And they did kind of talk about that up until that point. Like they talked about Freaky Nikki, and they kind of implied that maybe like she has this other, wild side to her. So and they do, and with like the rest of the movie as well, like kind of hints at like BPD and like just this whole concept of like having an other crazy type of personality that can come out in toxic relationships or whatever. But they don't really do that. They do the possession thing, and that's where I'm like,
yeah,
could have made it all connect.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you pretty much 100%. I agree that her performance is probably the best thing in the movie. I think she's great. And I think I'm going to split a hair here that what I liked is the scene where she just seems to be like, she's behaving like, oh, I'm really into you, but oh, what am I doing? This is weird, and so I believed that it was all her and that she was being influenced by feelings she didn't understand. And I thought this is going to be interesting, but when it starts to become clear that, oh no, she's just a prisoner and it's some other entity that's controlling the body and doing these things, I thought, what the hell is this? This doesn't make any sense to me. And is this, again, getting back to the how does this world work? Is this how the wish works, that they just send a demon or some kind of entity out to control things every time somebody makes a wish? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why would this be the way it would work? We're just going to turn you into a puppet now instead of actually just making you feel things. Like, it just made no sense to me. And I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that sort of she's a trapped spirit inside this other, this other entity controlling things. I just did not like that at all. So that was the difference for me.
Yeah. So then we see him researching the stick, and I think that was another, like, okay, I want to connect with this audience even more, because I did recognize it. I don't know if it was Reddit or if it just looked very similar to Reddit, but it looked like Reddit reviews, which were mixed reviews. Like, I was reading that, I was like, some of them were saying, oh my God, it worked, and others were saying, oh, this is bullshit, it's a scam. And it was like, it was super, super mixed. I was like, yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate. Like, looking up anything like nowadays, but also anything metaphysical, it's like, yeah, you don't know. But I thought that was another little audience connection that they did. Same thing with the MDMA reference, which I thought it was interesting that, she kept doing these like saving of the conversation things. Like, she didn't want him to figure out that she's not her. So there was like the cat mix up. Like, she was saying that she lost her cat. And then he was like, no, what are you talking about? I lost my cat. So there were little hints at the possession. But I still felt pretty confused up until you hear her screaming on the phone that it's like a full-on possession.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
I like that they skipped through the montage. I did not want to see a true love montage in a horror movie. So I like that they skipped through it, but they skipped through it well. Like, you get to see them doing the whole like, oh, we're, first month or whatever, which we don't really get much of a concept of how much time has passed. But you get to see them going through that stage of like, oh yes, I finally get what I want and she's in love with me, to, okay, now he's fucking sick of her. And he wants to get out of this. Like, they did that very quickly.
Yeah, it seemed that the turning point was at the end of that montage where they're in the restaurant, and then he gets the phone call from Ian, who tells him, hey, I looked into this and her dad is not dying of cancer. Oh, and by the way, I also talked to Sarah, and she says Nikki only thinks of you as a brother. She's not really into you. So what the hell's going on here? And I think this is where, Bear kind of turns, and it's like this becomes a nightmare instead of just a happy couple montage. It's like, oh, what's going on here? And of course, when he tries to ask her about it, that's when she flips out and starts screaming at him in the restaurant.
You see,
but to everybody else, he defends it.
Sorry?
But to everybody else, he defends like her. So like behind closed doors, he's like, yeah, questioning her. But to everybody else, he's like, no, like, like she was close with her, like just saying all
that. You were saying you didn't like Ian from the beginning, Angus. This is where I started to have questions about Ian.
Okay.
I'm like,
yeah.
That's a lot of things you're throwing on the table there. Like,
yes.
Oh, by the way, like, she doesn't like you. And, oh, I did a bunch of research on her. Like, why are you doing research on her family, calling him nonstop on a date? Like,
yeah.
That's where I started to question Ian, was that scene.
Okay. Yeah, I was already questioning him, but that certainly added to it. Yeah, he's not a good friend.
No. Nope.
I did like the smash cut though, where I think she was like, "Is this a problem?" She said something like that, like do we have an issue? Like she kind of hinted towards that, and he was like, "Nope." And then they smash cut to the sex scene. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why does it matter? It doesn't to me, he says. Yeah, which is a bit of a dark turn for him, I think. When this doesn't matter to me, and you're right. The smash cut to the sex, yeah.
The sex scene was so creepy.
Why is it like we have to see a man's butt in sex scenes? They did that in like The Matrix, a bunch of movies. It's like, no, like it's gratuitous to show a woman's butt. We got to show the man's butt. Like, I don't want to see a man's butt.
They got to appeal to the female audience too, I guess.
Yeah, well, this is the way the world is going now. I suspect neither of you watch game shows like The Price is Right, but I grew up watching that. And when you see it now, they always had these female models, and they would, at times, they'd be in bikinis if they're modeling like a surfboard or something like that. But now they never have the women in bikinis. They have male models who come out in bathing suits, and they're all ripped, and so it's like they've reversed it now. The men do all the, near nudity, and the women never do on The Price is Right.
That's crazy.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to you guys for a minute because I really have to use the bathroom.
Okay. No worries.
So, take off my mic.
Where are we in the movie, Angus?
Okay, so yes, so we're back at the home.
Why did your audio change when she left?
I think we're maybe hearing her headphones.
Oh shit, her headphones.
We're hearing the echo coming through.
Damn it.
It's not too bad. It'll be temporary. But so they have sex, and then that's where he wakes up in the middle of the night, and she's in the corner staring at him, and it's all weird, and she basically says,
let's just hang on, because this echo is killing me. It's killing me. It's killing me.
Yeah.
Not her fault. She didn't know, but
no.
It's not going to play well, the audio.
No. So if this is an outtake anyway, what do you think about that? That they now have male models in
I think
bathing
that's
suits?
Insane. It's insane.
It's okay for men to do this now, or it's revenge. It's like the women had to do this for so many years.
Who wants to see that, though? I guess women, but Jesus.
I guess the women, and perhaps some of the men, the gay men.
I guess, but that's weird, man.
But,
that's weird. That's trying too hard. That's overcompensating.
Yeah. I'm also going to mention here, I just took a look, and there have been a few comments or chats that have appeared on YouTube. If you open up your YouTube in a window, you'll probably see all the chats there. But,
hey, maybe I can see some chats here.
Yeah, well, I always had trouble getting YouTube to come through to OBS, and I don't know why. But
I just see a bunch of likes. I saw a like an hour ago, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. I'm not seeing comments, though.
Yeah, so a lot of them are coming from the same person, and it's like, that's weird. Watching someone while they sleep, if you're in a relationship, is not that bad. Okay, watching someone sleep. We've had a few chats here along the way.
Unfortunately, when you took off your headset, we got the echo, so we didn't continue much.
Yeah, we could hear ourselves coming through your
headset.
Oh, I left it near the. Well,
yeah,
my bad.
But, so we're just
always
kind of
something with the mic.
Outtake moment. But there was a person here commenting, it's not that weird watching someone sleep if you're in a relationship. No, it's definitely entitlement. If he believes his affection alone makes the relationship inherently good, completely dismissing the actual Nikki's autonomy and suffering. His lack of empathy during that scene made me so mad. Of course, I don't know what we were talking about in that moment. His cowardice at the start is really relatable, and I think a lot of men would agree. LOL.
Well, at least a woman would agree on this panel.
Who would want to ruin a friendship with their crush? It's not like he knew it would work. LOL. I guess using the thing. Maybe if he knew that it was real, he would have made a specific wish. One would hope that. They suggest he had been abusing his grandmother's pills. So anyway, we missed these as they came in.
Why did we miss them?
No one was looking for them.
No one was looking, and I always had a problem getting YouTube's comments to come through to OBS, and I don't know why, but these are all on YouTube, so you kind of need to keep an eye on the YouTube page. But anyway, apologies for missing those.
Where were we?
So we are actually at that moment where after they have
sleeping.
sex, she's in the corner staring at him. And she says things like, "You don't love me as much as I love you," and all that kind of stuff.
This is another aspect I like. They show this in the behind the scenes. Every time she's in the dark, they put on like deforming makeup on her face to give like an uncanny valley look to enhance the horror. So I did like that aspect of it.
I like that as well. Yeah.
I did think those moments were effective, generally speaking.
to address the comment that somebody made about like, oh, I think it's normal to watch somebody that you love while they're sleeping. I have actually had this. I've had this conversation with somebody. Yes, after a certain amount of time in a relationship, it is normal for a certain amount of time upon waking up. But to be like there for however, like a long time, just watching somebody sleep, it's creepy. It's weird. It's codependent. It's like, couldn't you do something else with that hour of watching your partner sleep? Like, no, I'm sorry. No.
Yeah. Well,
but he does. That was something I noted in the movie. I was like, okay, if I woke up, not only she's watching him sleep, but from the corner in a really creepy way. She also walks out and back in really strangely. Like her movements in some parts of the movie are just very uncanny. But he goes back to sleep. I would not. I could not go back to sleep after that. There's no freaking way. And I would have liked to have seen him, like, you know, to show that like he's not sleeping nearly as much, and maybe that's why he also makes poor decisions later, because he's not getting enough sleep to make better decisions, to really grasp the situation that he's in. Or he's just your stereotypical man who can sleep through fucking anything. So
yeah, it is amazing that he can manage to sleep and not feel completely terrified the whole time. He does try to get out of bed at one point, and she screams, "Stay!"
Yeah.
And of course, it's not long after this that he wakes up and finds she's given him a haircut.
Yeah.
Which he does actually say, "Let's not do that." So he does kind of stand up to her on that. And then she's packed him a lunch, and he's going to go to.
But before all that, I thought this was an interesting part in the movie. The flowers.
Yes.
The flowers was a nice suspense and a fake jump scare, and I actually like that they didn't do a jump scare after that suspense build up, because it was unexpected. I expected a jump scare.
Yeah. Yeah, and I found myself wondering, where she says they're flowers for the cat. Was that always the intention, or did she just kind of use that to explain what she was doing? I wasn't sure. But yes, so she makes him lunch, and she's going to miss him while he's at work, and she's wondering if she should pop by and all that stuff. And then he discovers that she's basically duct taped the door completely closed. Yeah. And she's like, well, you know, if you can't get out, maybe you should just stay here. And he's, no.
Well, I love
how does he have that much duct tape?
Yeah.
Who has that much duct tape in their house?
It was duct tape and foil. It was aluminum foil.
Yes, yeah.
It was aluminum foil and duct tape.
Yeah. Tin foil, yeah. It's like the crazy people would put tinfoil hats on to keep the signals out. Yeah.
But I love that he thinks that a talk would fix everything. Like, listen, you just need to stop doing all these crazy things and we'll be good. And it's like, in what world would that work? Whether she was possessed or crazy, like, you know, I should just tell her to stop being crazy and she'll stop being crazy. No.
Yeah, well, this is actually one way that the movie resonated with me, is I kept seeing it's like living with a person with a mental illness. And if you've ever experienced that, you know, where you've been dealing with somebody with a mental illness, and I did go through that with my mother when, you know, toward the end of her life, when she was, you know, experiencing all these hallucinations and delusions, and it is a bit of a nightmare because it's a day-to-day thing, and you try to reason with her, and it's like, well, that's not true, and she can kind of understand in the moment, but then the next day it's back to all the crazy stuff, and I can just see that, this is the way it's making sense to me, is it's like she's got this mental illness, but I don't feel he's doing enough to try and help or work with that, because you really do need to kind of play into it in a way and say things that are going to help. And of course, one of the other big issues is, why doesn't he take her to see a doctor at some point? You know, like
repeat after me, because he's a dumbass.
He's a dumbass. Yes, but I mean, it's like even if he really believes it's the magic and there's nothing the doctor can do, well, it's at least something. You know, take her to a doctor. They could sedate her. They could restrain her.
Well, he doesn't want to lose her, though. All of those things will lead to him losing her. He doesn't want to lose her.
You know, if we want to go down that way,
and that's the entitlement.
Yeah, but it seems just kind of odd to me that he doesn't do more to try and deal with this. Even just telling her what she wants to hear, like he's, instead of saying, you know, when she says you don't love me as much as I love you, well, yes I do. Like, why doesn't he try to appease her? Instead, he's looking kind of disturbed, and I don't know, he's just kind of making the situation
because
worse.
he's a dumbass, I guess.
He's a dumbass. Yeah.
The answer. See, you guys get it now.
Yeah.
So then we see the lingering smile and the eye twitch and that very like long scene on her, just like standing there, looking creepy, and then she starts pissing herself, and it was just before she starts pissing herself that I'm like, is she gonna stay there
the whole time
until he gets back? And then she starts pissing herself, like, she sure is. She's gonna stand there until he gets back. She's definitely possessed.
And of course, that moment, I could not help but think of The Exorcist, because there is a scene in The Exorcist where a character does piss herself, and that's one of the first signs that something's wrong and that she is possessed. So whether that was an intentional reference or whether it's just a coincidence, I don't know, but it made me immediately think of The Exorcist.
So then she feeds him his cat.
How do you not know you're eating a cat? How do you not know?
Because you're a dumbass.
it's in a lot of cuisine and we can't tell.
Oh.
So
at least that's a different answer. I thought it was going to be because he's a dumbass.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, she also put pictures in his lunch which say you and not me. So she's trying to like send him a message, right? She's trying to break through there. This is not me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that cat for lunch thing, what the hell?
Well, and it's also, the movie is sending a message with the cat at this point as well, which is that, you know, in the beginning, we have the cat, which fosters more loneliness in him, right? And to then start making these stupid decisions. And then we see the cat again, which was like the first, like, okay, I think something's really wrong with her, with the, you know, little memorial thing that she did with the cat. And then again, we see the cat being fed to him. So I feel like they're like using the cat as a, you know, these are the consequences of your actions. Like, if only you weren't so weak and lonely, like you could still get out now. But also very grotesque. Yeah. It shows that she's clearly not all there.
Yeah, it seems odd, you know, if she's like somebody who's like so in love with this guy, I know what I'll do for him. I will cook him his dead cat. Like, this just seems like not the right idea. You know, something not quite right here. But
so yeah, and then we see that he tries to call and cancel, which I think it's interesting that they have that call thing there. So like, you can call, but you can't cancel it. But they did tell him that, like, how you can break it, which is that he would have to die. But then they don't say later the other way that you can get out of this, which I think is interesting. But I felt it was kind of comedic.
Yeah, they were definitely aiming for humor.
Yeah. But what was that though, when he says, "Would you like to talk to her?" and then we hear her screaming?
That made no sense.
Are we to believe that this is hell or something? And that
like, where is she? Like, she's there.
Like this Willow company is keeping her soul there. Or I don't know. I didn't really follow.
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of, is that they're not really like employees who know what this thing does as much as they are like the facilitators for it, because she's clearly possessed. So yeah, it was kind of strange. I think it was like to give a hint even more that okay, she's possessed.
This
But
is one aspect I didn't
yeah,
like, because if that happened and they followed up with it, they did it because it made sense in the context of the movie. Because they didn't follow up with it, they just did it because, oh, here's something cool we can do, you know?
Hmm.
Because there
yeah,
was no
yeah.
follow up, it was clearly just something done to just be a cool scene, you know? And I prefer more internal logic. I could less cool and just make everything make sense and just have a better movie than just trying to have like a cool moment.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting to have like almost like a poltergeist moment of like seeing like where she might be at
Yeah,
some point, or
any
like
follow up.
maybe when
Hmm.
she's coming back at the end, like we see her like coming to like internally from where she was. Yeah, some sort of follow up I think would have been nice.
Yeah. Or even more of a conversation, like if he's actually talking to her and it's like, hey, it's the real me, the evil spirit's sleeping, ask a few questions like, well, where are you? What's going on? How can I help you?
Yeah, no
But
follow up shows
Yeah.
that it was just a cool
yeah.
scene. Yeah.
So then he comes home and sees her the way that he sees her. Symbolically, like I said earlier, I like that they showed the deterioration of her with the deterioration of the relationship and the toxicity, but it didn't really make sense. Like I would understand if like, maybe there was piss and shit on the floor or puke all over her, like from nerves or whatever the fuck. But she had like boils, and so she had like all these things all over her, and it's like what was she like, blistering in the sun? Like I didn't understand what was happening. And then we don't see it again later, like until like the very end when again she's just all like messed up. But it's just very random. It didn't really make sense.
Her makeup wasn't consistent. Right. Sometimes she's have boils, sometimes she's have scars, and then no scars, especially when she's smashing that glass in her head later on. It's like that should have left major scars, you know, or swelling or
Hmm.
something. So the makeup wasn't consistent when she was hurting herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so what? So she showers and all the boils disappear, all the blisters, all the ugliness disappears.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, did we see her looking like that anywhere else, like in public? Or did we only see her looking like that when they were alone together? So was that kind of like this, he's seeing her now as this like crazy, ugly person because now she's fucking
I think
crazy
then that'd be us trying too hard to add meaning to it. I think they just did it because it looked cool.
because it looked cool. Yeah, I think that's right.
Well,
Um,
you could suggest she's having some kind of hysterical allergy to him being away from her, and she developed all these boils, and then once he's back,
The boils
they
go
go
away.
away. Yeah, you could argue that, but I don't think it
so
will.
so boys' night. They start talking about boys' night, and they bring up like the codependency thing here, and then like if it was a normal, healthy relationship, you should be able to go and enjoy boys' night and it not be a problem. You should be able to spend a few hours apart from each other. And then lo and behold, of course, she comes to
Hmm.
boys' night, and it's not actually a boys' night, which yeah, Ian is not.
No,
Ian's not a good guy.
no.
And it's like,
No.
yeah, I wonder why girls aren't comfortable with their man going out to boys' night, because it's not actually boys' night. So it kind of plays both sides of the coin with that
Mhm.
scene. But yeah, so then they're doing the game, and the monologue that she does of like her,
Hansel
I
and
guess what
Gretel.
she's writing, Hansel and Gretel,
Mhm.
incest, Hansel and Gretel. What
Mhm.
did you guys think of that?
I thought it was a great performance. I don't get what it in the context of the movie, like how does that story relate to their relationship or anything like that. I thought it was good acting wise. I thought it was an interesting scene, but I thought it was just something that sounded and looked cool. I didn't get how it fit.
No, I thought it was just a way of kind of showing the group that she's going over the edge. That was kind of like the start of it. she's starting to act kind of weird and crazy, and it goes even further, of course, as the scene goes on. So it's kind of like revealing her, whatever, her new personality to the group in a way.
Yeah, I think they did like reveal that pretty well with that. Okay, like because all his friends at that point are saying that like he's a bad guy, he's taking advantage, and that like they shouldn't be together. And then they get to see, oh, she's actually kind of crazy.
But they could have
She
seen
might be
that
the
with
one.
the behavior where she's like, "No one will ever love anyone more than I love him." Like Bear,
Yes.
like the
Well, she does
behavior
that.
did it. Like,
She does that at the end, but I think this was like the first instance, like when she does the story, it's the first instance that they see of like. But I think the story has more to do with the fact that Nikki is trying to come through with that story, because remember she says, I don't know, I think it's later that they say this, and I think it would have made more sense if they said this before, that she sees him as a brother. So Hansel and Gretel are
I
brother
thought it
and
was sees him
sister.
as like a friend zone. They said brother specifically.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
okay.
did
Yeah.
say brother,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
brother, and like friend zone. So this is one of those hints that like, okay, incestual Hansel and Gretel, like she's trying to reach out and be like, this is
Yeah,
fucking
that
weird.
kind of makes more
I'm
sense then.
sleeping with my brother.
Mhm.
But I feel like it would have made more sense if they mentioned the brother thing before the Hansel and Gretel story.
Yeah, I didn't remember the brother thing, but if since you mentioned that, then it does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't connect that up either, but that's a good point. Yes, absolutely.
And then the kissing thing, like kiss the person to your left, that was expected. I did expect her to get up and go over there. What I didn't expect was the giant, uncanny frown on her face that was just so weird. And then, like, so there was quite a bit of suspense there. I didn't know if she was going to, like, go over to Sarah and, like, snap her fucking neck. Like, it really looks like it could go either way. And instead she just, so that was another like suspenseful, hyped up for a horror moment scare, and they didn't do it, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Yeah,
she
that
would have
whole
wanted a more passionate kiss, honestly, than
yeah.
just like the peck.
It was just creepy. It was weird. She had duck lips. She made duck lips for a kiss. Nobody does that
Yeah.
unless you're trying to be funny. And she wasn't trying to be funny. So
She's not.
that's another one of those like weird things that like let everybody know that like she's not all there. She's probably not even human, because what human would feed you your dead cat? What like, you know?
She was great in that whole scene. That whole scene, she was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That party scene is very tense and uncomfortable and embarrassing. It's
Oh
quite
my
effective.
God.
Yeah. And of course it ends horribly, or in a horrifying way.
Yeah. She does give a lot of monologues throughout the whole movie. And I get that the monologues are to like reflect her character as a writer, but I feel that they were just a little bit overdone. And it just kind of like, I don't know, drag things.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't make that connection that you made to the brother thing, which does make it more interesting. But I did think this is just going on here a little bit.
Yeah. We talked about like, you know, when she's at the point where she's like asking him to kill her. And I feel like I've seen that before in other movies.
Well, there was Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Where the aliens, it's Sigourney Weaver walks in and she sees the deformed aliens. It's like, kill me. I think it was like, was it one of her her crew members that was formed with the alien?
They're like in a cocoon or something, so they're being slowly eaten.
Okay.
And so it's just like kill me. Yeah.
And since that movie, it's been reused and repurposed in other movies, but that's where it started, and a bunch of movies have used it. TV shows.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that was like a classic like trope that they did.
I'll give it credit though. It didn't use a ton of tropes. Like that's definitely a trope, and like certain storyline things are derivative, but like tropes that we see like constantly in movies and horror movies, it didn't use a ton of those.
Yeah,
So I was
I would
okay
agree
with
with
that
that.
one because it didn't use that many.
I would say, so this is like the next thing, you know, we find out Nikki and Ian were hooking up, and that was very expected. And there were some parts about this movie that were just very predictable and expected. And that was one of them.
I didn't
Like,
see
of
it as
course
soon
they
as
were
Angus
hooking up.
did, but yeah, at some point you realized there was something off with their relationship.
Yeah, totally. And you know, not to beat a dead horse, but we kind of skipped over where he does try to take her to the hospital after she smashes
Oh
a
yeah, that's
ball
right.
in her face. And I gather, I mean, it's done in a long shot, it's hard to tell, but I gather that she doesn't want to go, and she says she's okay or something. Like, it's not very clear to me, but again, you know, and having dealt with this kind of mental illness and needing to take somebody to the emergency room, they never want to go. You know,
Nope.
you have to be forceful about it. You have to just get them in there. So he doesn't really, even though he does sort of make an attempt, he doesn't try hard enough to get her in there. And,
Yeah, I guess I was more focused on the fact that if she smashed a broken ball against her face, there would have the scarring should
There'd be
have
some
been.
sort of mark.
Yeah.
Especially
I
she
was
didn't
more
get
focused on
treated
that
for
than-
it.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
reason enough to get into the emergency room. Let's get this cut cleaned up, and you know. But yeah, it's just.
Well, it sounded like, I mean, she was refusing care. I mean,
Mhm.
it depends on the place. It looked like a small town hospital where, you know, like, oh, this person's refusing care. They're not a minor, and you know they're acting crazy. It's late at night, and they're not consenting. So out of my hands, like, your problem. And it also was not like a life-threatening situation. So at that point, yeah, like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but again, why not turn it back on this you know, crazy person, if we want to use that term? It's like, if you love me, you will go into this emergency room and let the doctor look at you. You know, like, she's supposed to love him more than anything. If you love me, this is how you show me you love me, by going in here.
Okay, but
He's a dumbass.
He's a dumbass.
He's a dumbass.
Yes, well, that's exactly. Yeah.
It's also, this is first time, like, having a relationship, it looks like, period, but also a relationship with this kind of crazy, which, no, even though, like, it seems obvious when you're in that for the first time, you don't think of these, like, things that you could do to make it work. It's just, oh my God, what is going on?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
What was happening next? So okay, so then another expected thing that happens, predictable. Sarah likes Bear, and she confesses to Bear.
Before you continue, I did like the fact that this was kind of a reversal of what happened earlier in the movie, where Bear is in the car with Nikki, and he doesn't confess his love. And then here it's kind of the reverse, where Sarah confesses her love to Bear, and maybe Bear was right, because look what happened to Sarah.
Yeah.
And then Nikki shows up and she kills Sarah.
This
brutally.
was one of the most, like, shocking moments I've seen in a movie in a while. I did not expect that scene.
You didn't expect it?
It came out. I did not expect it. You saw it coming?
I saw it coming. As soon as he started texting her, I was like, oh no, Sarah's gonna die. Like, she's gonna kill Sarah. Like, because she's supposed to be this obsessive, clingy, crazy girlfriend, but possessed girlfriend. So of course, like, she's gonna be she knows that he's awake and he's texting some other girl. I think she references it a few times, that she can tell Sarah likes him. And so she already has this inkling that, like, Sarah is gonna come between them. And earlier at boys' night, she did. she did come between them, although she didn't do anything, but it was that they're already setting that up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, as soon as Sarah was like,
up until that point, it was only self-harm. I didn't expect her to just like flat out kill someone. And the way she did it, she was like threw the brick in the window and just slammed her face against the brick. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of girls doing crazy stuff like that when they catch their man cheating. Like they roll up and they just beat the fuck out of a girl.
Not to go off on, obviously we talked about other stuff aside from the movie. Now we're focused on the movie, but just to separate from the movie for 1 minute. Why is it then when someone finds their partner cheating, they attack the person the partner cheated with? They're not the one in the relationship. Your issue is with your partner, not the person your partner is cheating with. I never get that logic, but whatever.
I don't really understand it that well either, other than the fact that they're not ready to blame their partner, because if they blame their partner, then that means they took a part in it, and that means that they also have to leave. If they don't leave their partner, then now they're being fucking stupid.
If they attack their partner, they have to leave the relationship, and they don't want to leave the relationship, so they have to attack the other person. But it's still stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she kills her, and was it then or was it later? Just the whole scenario around Sarah dying and like him being so sad about it, and actually showing that like he really cared about this girl, and maybe he made a mistake and he should have chosen Sarah. Like that was a moment where I was like, wow, I'm actually really sad that this character died, and in a horror movie. I think she was the very first character to die. I don't know if we can count the cat, but first character to die in the horror movie, and I felt pretty sad about it, which is different for a horror movie. Usually it's like, okay, we're getting the ball rolling here, you know.
I actually felt my emotion was stronger towards Bear than Sarah in that scene. Because seeing him like whimper in the corner, that's when I really turned on him. I'm like, you fucking coward. You're just like sitting there crying in the corner while like this girl who loves you is getting her face smashed in because she loves you. And this other girl you loved is doing it. Like, this is all your fault. That's the first time where I kind of turned on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coward.
And of course, that is, that's what she says exactly, right? When Nikki kills Sarah, she says, "This is all your fault." She tells him that, you wished for this, and now we got to get rid of the body, and then so they do kind of move the body, and then she says, "Okay, you go home. I'll take it from here." So we don't quite know what she's going to do, but she sends him home, and then he opens up Sarah's letter and kind of reads the good news, I guess, which is adding to the tragedy, I guess you could say, or the dark comedy, depending on your point of view. But I agree that she's the one character who really doesn't deserve to die in this movie. She's really the one who should live, and not only does she die, but she dies in a pretty horrific way. And
unpopular opinion, I think she's more attractive than Nikki.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that, it's just one of those, like, you knew it was coming. I agree. Like, you knew it was coming, but I didn't expect it to be so brutal and immediate.
Yeah.
I thought it would be more of a fight and an argument, and then who knows how it would play out. And I was still somewhat hopeful that she might survive it. She would just get, a bottle smashed over her head or something like that. But it was way worse than I imagined.
Yeah. And no, so she just has the strength to punch through a window and destroy a woman's face and head.
Not to defend it too much, but she did have a brick in her hand, so I think the brick broke the window.
Oh, she did have a brick?
Yeah, and she put the brick on the steering wheel and smashed her face against the brick.
I was wondering what that was. I was like, what is that thing that she's smashing her into? Okay.
I didn't quite get that either. Like, I was thinking, what kind of steering wheel is this that it can do that to a person's face like this?
The scene was so jarring. I watched it like 3 times, so that's why.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So you missed it unless you watch it again. Yeah. And so then he goes into the shop and asks for help. again, covered in blood, which so it's no longer the female employee. Now it's the guy who we assume is the guy we heard over the phone. And then he gives him but you can reverse it if you make another wish that like reverses it. That was kind of confusing to me.
Well, this is where it's like, again, it's like the monkey's paw. It's like you keep making more wishes to try and fix the wish, and that's what entered my head immediately. Is this is what you need to do, right? You need to go and try to reverse this in some way. And I must note here that this was 91 minutes into the movie when he finally decides, I'm going to go back to that shop and see if I can do something. And I thought, oh my God, like they could have, like, I understand they don't want to end the movie in the first 20 minutes, but they could have dealt with it by him going back to the shop and we're sold out. We don't have any more of these. Oh my God, I need another one. Where do I get it? Well, collectors sometimes put them up on eBay. You could take a look. And so he could spend the rest of the movie trying to find another one of these. And then he finally gets one at 91 minutes. And that's why he takes so long to get to this point. But
he's not the hero in the movie. That would be trying to do the right thing. He's not.
Well, yeah. Okay, I guess. I guess. Yeah. But I found it very hard to believe that he would not do this sooner.
Well, it's because he's a dumbass. So I'm not surprised. So he gets, another chance to reverse the wish. And of course he goes to Ian to try and help him with this. And the wish is wasted on $1 billion because nobody believes in that shit until it's happening. I would have liked,
sorry, go ahead.
I would have liked to see something like kind of like the monkey's paw in this scenario where he wished for $1 billion and it just buries him and he dies buried with $1 billion. Like that would have been, I think, more satisfying of a death for him than later when he pops up and Nikki just like fucking shoots him. Like,
I agree. I was anticipating his death to be unrelated to Nikki and related to his. Oh, she dropped out. Related to his wish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was gonna say that. Again, like this just seems like the worst decision imaginable to go to Ian of all people, who has proven to be such a bad friend.
I'm back.
All right, welcome back.
Yeah, I just said that. I wish his. Oh, okay. I was just saying his wish was. I wish his wish was related to his death instead of being about Nikki. Like, I agree. The money should have had something to do with his death instead of Nikki.
Yeah, and again, how does this magic work? It sends some kind of entity to control Nikki, but then it actually just delivers $1 billion to the guy. So, I guess there's no. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. The real thing I was saying is I think it was a horrible decision. Again, perhaps showing what a dumbass he is, but he goes to Ian of all people. And instead of saying something like, look, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I just need you to do this. Okay. Just do this for me. Promise me you'll do this. Instead, he's saying, hey man, this is a wish and it really works, man. You can wish for anything. And I mean, why wouldn't he say, well, why should I waste my wish on you? I should wish for something I want, and there must be somebody else in this world that he could go to.
That's not a dumbass like himself.
Yeah, but I mean, at least make it about Nikki and say, well, Nikki believes in this shit. She wears crystals. She thinks this is going to work. I'm going to video you doing this so she can see you doing this, and this may help her. This may help her through this. So just do this. Do it exactly as I say. But no, he tells the guy it's all magic and it works and blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's obvious right away the guy's going to screw it up. I found that scene to be very annoying.
I was like kind of in the suspense that like, oh, what is he going to wish for? Like, what is he going to do with this wish? But it made sense that like he wasted it the way that he did because he doesn't believe in it. Because who would?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, and that's why Bear should not have trusted him with this thing. But why does he give up on that? Like he tried once with Ian, it didn't work. Why doesn't he go to someone else who's going to be more reliable. Like if he has any older relatives, for instance, who are still alive.
Well, we don't really see any other characters in the movie.
No, we don't.
There was not a lot of characters in this movie. So then we see her again looking all crazy. She's got like demonic drawings on her. She's talking about like there's like she's got the gun and she says something about the barrel in her pussy and it's like a threat or something. I was like, what is going on here? Like this is getting very sexualized. And then she kills Ian, which was very like
satisfying.
I don't know. It wasn't very satisfying. It wasn't very satisfying though. It was very what's the word I'm looking for?
Funny?
No,
anticlimactic?
like yes, anticlimactic. It was a very anticlimactic death for him.
Yeah.
We were building it up that like so it wasn't really addressed even between Ian and Bear that like, oh, you were sleeping with her this whole time.
Well, he did briefly mention it.
Briefly, but it wasn't like a thing.
Yeah.
And then even in the end, when she killed him, it still wasn't like a thing. Like there was no hesitation whatsoever. Yet throughout the whole movie, we see Nikki come through every now and again at like these really pivotal moments of like, she definitely wouldn't be okay with this. And that's when she kind of breaks through. And right when she kills Ian, like there's no like,
yeah, Sarah and Ian, they definitely don't have their arcs completed. They just kind of both abruptly die.
Yeah. Well, I think Sarah was given a bit more.
Well, she didn't realize that she got into the college, and that was her whole thing throughout the whole.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I like the scene where he's trying to kill himself. He's trying to do like the right positioning. I thought that was, again, it was a very like what's the word? Like they're really trying to capture mental illness in this movie, and with the whole like he's trying to kill himself, and it's not, he's actually trying to make sure like the job gets done. It's not like he's trying to kill himself out of passion or any sort of mental illness problem. He wants this nightmare to be over, and then of course he chickens out.
Well, he stayed consistent. Yeah, he stayed consistent.
He stayed consistent to his character. And then we come back to the pills. And I liked that they ended it the way they started it with the pills. They wrapped it up. But the pills also pissed me the fuck off when he died so quickly from those pills. I was like, what? No, it takes longer for them to hit you before that happens. Like no matter how many you take, it has to go. I was like, that was too quick.
And digest and everything.
Yeah, it was too quick.
I did like his death in a way that he didn't find any redemption in his death because he wasn't going to kill himself. The only reason he died is because Nikki wished that he loved her. And because once you heard that sound and she broke the wishing,
which was expected. I expected that. Yeah.
So he only killed himself because of that, not because he was selfless. So I think that stayed consistent with his character. And I think it was a satisfying ending in the fact that, all right, this is what love actually is, sacrifice. And that's what he was unwilling to do throughout the whole movie. When he had his own autonomy, he didn't really do anything that showed that he loved her. When he lost his autonomy is when he did something that was actually proof that he did love her.
But I don't feel like that was proof that he loved her. Like I don't think that he was trying to kill himself to free her. I think he was trying to kill himself to free him out of this insane situation that he's in.
No, but once she broke the stick, he did it for her. Because she wished it, killed himself for her. The reason he didn't throw up the pills is because she broke the stick. And that's why he stopped trying to throw up.
Oh, I see. But that's not that's
Yeah.
not real love. That
That
was the wish.
No, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that's what I'm saying. It's ironic that
Oh yeah, yeah.
he did it
But
because of the wish, but that's the only time that he had true love for her was when he lost his autonomy because she broke the stick, and she made
Yeah.
him do it because she made him say her wish was that he would love her, you know, and that's what true love would be. It's like, you know, and, yeah.
but when did he give up on trying to make her make a wish? Because he comes in there and says, look, you got to do this. You'll do it. You love me. You'll do this, right? Why does he give up on that? Because that is really the only way that
When he
any
saw
of
his
this is
best
gonna...
friend get shot in the head, maybe.
Well, yeah, but that's even more motivation. We've got to fix this. This is the only way, because when he decides to kill himself, whether it is to free her or not, it's not going to work, you know, because she's going to be left with these dead bodies. She killed people. So, she's herself, but now she's going to be going to jail, right? Like, there's no way out of this.
Because he's a coward. Because if he got her to break the spell, right? Then she would be aware, and he knows that somewhere in there she's aware that she didn't do it on her own. Then he would have been a rapist. He would have been responsible for everything that happened and all the deaths, and she would have had the clarity to explain what happened. And then he would have also lost her as well.
I don't think he was able to think that far into it. I think it was more the matter. I think it was, you know, I want her. Ian fucked up the wish, so let me see if I can get her to make the wish. And then she sees him kill not just Ian, their friend, but Ian, the guy that she was hooking up with, and she doesn't come.
He sees her kill.
So he sees her kill him, and it's like, okay, you know what? She's super far gone. I don't think she is gonna make the wish that I want her to make, which is to fix all of this. Like, she is gone. So that's why I think he goes to the I'm just gonna kill myself option. And then and then she comes out of it as soon as he dies. I would have preferred that she died in the end.
So that was the original ending.
That was the original ending?
They shot it with that ending. They did one take, supposedly. That's what they say in behind the scenes stuff. They did one take where she lived, and that's the take they ended up using. But all the other takes, she dies at the end, supposedly. And that's what they said.
But she's basically screwed now because there's no way to explain this.
No.
She's got all these dead bodies. She clearly did this. There's no way out, you know. So yeah.
And she already made her last wish too. She can't make another wish.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So.
But was that her? It wasn't her. That was the possessed version of her. So maybe she does still have another wish. And so with them ending it with her not killing herself, I'm like, okay, does this mean there's going to be another one?
So he did address that, Barker. He said there won't be a sequel with these characters, but he does plan on having a sequel, and he wants to also do a TV show. So
wow.
Not sure that's a good idea.
He's showing that he's into sequels because his next one is going to be like a sequel / remake to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So
really,
we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Wow.
But yeah. So comparing this to Backrooms, now that we've seen both, I definitely think Backrooms is a better movie. But the best performance by far is the Nikki character. I mean, she was the most fleshed out character. She really elevated the movie. So it makes rating is very kind of tricky because I believe I gave Backrooms a 7. And this, even though I think
I gave it an 8. Yeah.
Yeah. You may have given it an 8, but I definitely gave it a 7. So I can't give this. This is not going to be higher than Backrooms because I like Backrooms better. But I think off the strength of the lead performance, that I kind of want to say they're both kind of on the same level, even though I enjoyed one more than the other. But Inde Navarrette, she was so good that I think I want to lean this towards a 7. When I do compare this to similar movies, because they did make a list of other obsession movies when I watched this: Vertigo, Play Misty for Me, Fatal Attraction, Misery. I think those are all better. And then when I think of like, be careful what you wish for. I mean, the first one that comes to my mind is Pet Cemetery, which is very similar to
Mhm.
this, in that like you get exactly what you ask for. So I don't know if I enjoy them as movies. I think I enjoy those movies more, but off of the strength of her performance, I think I'm gonna go with a 7, based on her performance only. Like otherwise, the movie without that is like a 6.
Mm.
Do you guys need context for the scores again, or
No, I think I have it.
okay?
I would also give it a 7. I did like Backrooms more, which I gave an 8. But
Mhm.
I did like this movie more than The Odyssey. So
Yes, I will agree with that.
Yeah.
gotta give it better than The Odyssey. Yeah, there were little things, but I think overall it was a good movie, and I
Mhm.
did enjoy watching it. I might watch it again, like if somebody else hasn't seen it and they want to see it, like yeah, I'll watch it with you. Just because I think there were some like Easter eggs that I missed.
Mhm.
Like just little things that maybe the things that didn't make sense. Maybe if I like watched a little closer, it would make sense because they dropped like a tiny little hint somewhere. But I enjoyed the movie. Her performance, yeah, definitely stole the show.
Yeah.
But I do think it was overhyped.
The
Like I
movie.
was I was expecting, yeah, I was expecting a lot more from the movie because everybody is just like, "Oh my god, you got to watch it. It's so good. Like tell me what you think about it when you watch it." And I'm just like it's just overhyped. But it's a good movie.
Yeah, I would agree it was overhyped. I would agree that the performance was the highlight. She was really good. It had some good moments, some good atmosphere. I do think Backrooms is a more interesting film, and it feels like there's more there to uncover, and I could see, even sequels to that might make more sense than a sequel to this. This doesn't feel. I mean, I've watched it twice now, just because that's the way it worked out, and I did notice a few things the second time, but it doesn't feel like there's a whole world in there that I need to understand. I'm not sure the filmmakers entirely understand how this world works with the One Wish Willow. I think Backrooms has more potential to grow, in my estimation, than this film does. So I'm going to give it a 6 because I do think it is good. I think it's worth watching, but I don't think it's as good as Backrooms, and I don't think it's as good as any of those films you mentioned. And I'm not sure that it's going to really age well over time. I don't know. I don't think it's going to improve in my sight over time. Um, so yeah, 6 for me.
I agree with you. I don't think this is going to age well over time because the movie overall isn't great. But I still stick with my 7 just because I thought that performance was really good. You don't really see a lot of standout performances like that where it's like someone can just elevate a movie. And I do appreciate that. But yeah, 7, which is good, works well, entertaining, has flaws, but worth watching. And I think that lines up with what I think about the movie. Yeah, but this was fun, guys. And no other way to end this but you are an obsession. You're my possession. I don't know if I should continue more, but yeah.
Nice. Oh, yeah, that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
and
will have you. Yes, I will have you. I will find a way, and I will have you like a butterfly. Oh, wild butterfly. I will cut. Oh, God. I'm done. I'm done.
because he's a dumbass.